I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good, productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Biden said it, Obama said it, George W. Bush said it, Clinton said it, George Bush Sr. said it, Ronald Reagan said it. You go, every single one said, of course, they cannot get a nuke. Now name me a single president who did anything about it. That's the difference. There's so much misinformation regarding Iran, regarding President Trump, regarding the regime, regarding the people. I've asked you, like, where do you line up? And the truth is, we used to be able to ask those questions. Now we have to ask, okay, where do you line up and what's your basis for that? Because people aren't even agreeing on central tenets, on basic facts. And I think that it's a legitimate conversation to have. Okay, to what degree should the United States intervene? How will this affect midterms, the optics? What does the timeline look like? Absolutely. But you have some people out there who believe that Iran has never attacked Americans. Yes, they have. Who believe that Iran was nowhere near becoming a nuclear power. Of course they were. Who believe that Iran posed as no threat. Who believe that the people of Iran actually like their regime. These are just not accurate. These aren't half-truths. These are factual inaccuracies. And the reason I bring that up is because I wonder if people knew the truth. If people knew that there was a nation out there that oppressed and killed and imprisoned its own people, who have said that they will kill Americans at any given opportunity. They are a death cult who want to bring about the apocalypse, have said death to America, death to America, if you may believe them. And then that might change your jumping off point. So a lot happened over the weekend. Just this morning, President Trump dropped this statement on Truth, and then there's been an update since then. He wrote, I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good, productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week. They better continue. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants, energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for this attention to this matter, right? His signature. This comes after, throughout the weekend, he set a 48-hour deadline where he threatened to blow up Iran's power plants. Also, the reason that's important is because that would affect the civilian population. Most of them seemingly still welcome it if you read from them on social. Obviously not a lot of polling data to come in, but he made that threat earlier. And this is what we saw today. So this is the earlier threat. He said, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first.
Why did it start with the biggest one?
So the new statement happened. Markets are kind of rebounding. According to CNBC's Joe Kernan, the discussion, they seem to center around the idea of regime change, which is really a technicality because there is a change of regime since most of them are dead.
The futures are spiking on that Truth Social post from the president that the U.S. and Iran have had productive discussions. I just spoke to the president. President Trump said the discussions have been very good over the last 48 hours, very intense discussions. I said, well, with whom? I thought, there aren't a lot of leaders left alive. He said they have representatives, obviously. The president went on to say or insist that this is regime change because it's totally different people that were involved in the last...
it involves the ones that are still alive. Yeah.
I would imagine some of the people are the same. This is the president's take on that, insisting that it's regime change. He went on to say the great meetings, great conversations, and hopes that within the next 5 days something very substantive can be arrived at for the end of hostilities.
And this is the problem in the era of misinformation. And by the way, you are a useful tool if you're delivering misinformation, just so you know. Anyone out there who thinks that the communist Chinese government, the communist Cuban government, or the Islamo-Commie fascists in the Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic, are not feeding disinformation to willing participants, you live in a fool's paradise, just to be clear. I'll get to the updates, but here's one thing that I do want to keep in context. Presidents don't exist in a vacuum. And a big reason, too, that I think this is unfair for people to attack President Trump on wrongful premises is that in comparing him to other administrations, I want you to do something for me, okay? Name me a single president. Name me a single president in modern American history who didn't say, hey, of course, we cannot allow Iran to get a nuke. Name me a single president. Biden said it, Obama said it, George W. Bush said it, Clinton said it, George Bush Sr. said it, Ronald Reagan said it. You go, every single one said, of course, they cannot get a nuke. Now, name me a single international governing body who didn't also recognize Iran as a danger because they're a rogue terror state. Name me one. Now name me a single president who did anything about it. That's the difference. That's the difference. And people saying, well, President Trump promised he wouldn't. He's always said that they wouldn't be allowed to have a nuke. I think it's also pretty important to note that billions of dollars, not only unfrozen, but in cash given to Iran under the Barack Obama administration. You think it maybe takes some work to undo that? Do you think that maybe accelerated the danger?
I think the left would claim that as doing something about it, too.
If Iran acted out, if Iran did what they have been doing now, basically bombing their own neighbors, if they got a nuke or they had the serious capabilities to harm every major city in Europe, which seems to be the case, and they did it, of course, President Trump would be blamed. Here's what the media would do. They would blame President Trump, and they would try and paint it as Barack Obama and Joe Biden tried to stop it, did enough. He's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't. You know, most multivitamins are crap. Proprietary blends of stuff you don't need. It's not even what's on the label. That's why we created Foundation Daily. Clinically effective ingredients at their clinically effective doses. Vitamins A through zinc, plus curcumin, turmeric, and garlic to help you with some aches and pains. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Plus, you can get a certificate of analysis on every batch sold, so what's on the label is exactly what you're getting. Go to foundationdaily.com to start your subscription today. Foundation. It's a knockout. Shortly after that truth, the foreign minister denied any talks took place from Iran, and then President Trump immediately responded to that. So here's up to the minute.
Foreign ministry says you're not telling the truth when it comes to productive conversations to end the war.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them.
Who is Steve Witkoff speaking with, Mr. President?
A top person. Don't forget, we've wiped out the leadership phase 1, phase 2, and largely phase 3. But we're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. It's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader.
So
we don't.
Not much talk
Well, nobody heard of the second Supreme Leader, the son.
Are these direct?
We have not heard from the son. Every once in a while, you'll see a statement made, but we haven't. We don't know if he's living.
And I know that none of this matters to some of you who've made up your minds. And by the way, like I've said in the past, I haven't. I said, let's check back in 3 months. I understand there's information that will be incomplete for me as it relates to matters of national security and war. That's the nature of it, and I accept that. You have some people, though, who somehow still believe that Iran was not in any way a nuclear threat. I know some of you watching right now go like, well, no one actually disputes that. No, actually a lot do. Did you know that? Did you know that a lot of people online think that that's a psyop, that it's propaganda, that Iran was nowhere near nuclear capabilities? They think it's been a lie because it's been warned about for decades. I don't know if you remember, Iran's foreign minister said they had enough material for about 10 bombs.
I never said that we are going to make bombs. I said that we have 440 kilos of 60% enriched material, and that was not a secret. That is what is mentioned in the reports of the IAEA. So I said that, look, this is mentioned in the report. This, if enriched more, can be good enough for 10 bombs, as your own experts claims.
So the IAEA said they were 60% enrichment. Our administration said they were close. Iran themselves said, yeah, we could, we may not, we could, but you have people out there, in order to say that Donald Trump is a warmonger, say, no, none of that is true. It's all a psyop from Israel. I don't want a single American to die for Israel. I don't want a single American to die because Iran exists, to be clear. That's why I don't want Americans to die for any other country, including Iran. Many Americans have, to be clear.
Over decades.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do have to acknowledge, though, that they said they could. International governing bodies said they could. And then when you take into account this isn't completely confirmed, reportedly they fired missiles at Diego Garcia, which is about 2,000 miles away. Now, allegedly, they were fired. They were intercepted. We don't know. But we do know this. They've been launching missiles at their nearby supposed friends or somewhat neutral allies out of desperation. And some of those have required missiles that tell us they actually, Iran, if what he said is true, and they have enough for 10 bombs, every major city in Europe is within Iran's missile range.
Yeah.
We're seeing now what Marco Rubio said to be true. Out of desperation, because they're going to be destroyed anyway, now they're firing them off. So the nation that has said, we will kill every Westerner that we can. They want America first. They want to kill America first. And of course, Israel. I get it.
I'm just glad they're America first.
Right.
Yeah.
But any major city in Europe will do. Again, I go back to, name me a single president who did not say we have to prevent Iran from getting a nuke. You won't find one. Same thing for the international governing bodies. Name me a single president who actually did anything other than talks and giving them cash. I give him credit for that.
Yeah. And allowing them to develop their ballistic missile program. And this is the problem with that. It's not just that the European theater now comes into play. It's that every talking head on X and everywhere else that's been so anti because this is Israel's war, it doesn't benefit the United States at all, has said that their range is only half of what it would take for them to actually hit Diego Garcia.
Right.
That changes things because maybe, God forbid, the United States president knows more about what's going on than you do.
Right.
I would hope so.
The game changer. Now, it's yet to be confirmed, so I don't want to speak too strongly on it, but that would be like, holy crap, maybe the thing that we always knew was possible is that the DNI and the president of the United States both know more about what's going on than you do. Maybe.
Yeah. It seems like this conversation should be centering around the level of legitimacy as to the threat of Iran or how seriously they should be taken, not whether they want to cause irreparable damage to anyone they can get their hands on in the Western world. It's bizarre to me that that's where the conversation centers. And this is why I said, hey, hopefully you guys have set your clock. March 4th, 19 days ago, I said, give this military action, give it 3 months, and then come back to me and I'll have a more developed opinion. Give it 3 months. I think we have a clip. Or was that just the...
No, it's just
yeah. 23 days ago it started. 19 days ago I said give it about 3 months. Because that will determine the level of support that this receives. If it's swift, if it's fast, if it's effective, it would help in the midterms. If it's long, if it's drawn out, if it's unclear, if it's opaque, it'll hurt. But people trying to trumpet as loudly as they can right now, this is going to hurt them. And I regret my vote. You're being more preemptive than the left.
Yeah. And by the way, they're saying that Donald Trump said he was the peace president, and that's why. He didn't lie to you guys. He is the peace president. Mm-hmm. Look back at his first term. What was he the peace president through? Strength. Mm-hmm. Peace through strength. He understands a threat is out there and he's going to have to deal with it. Nobody wants us to have to deal with these threats, but they exist. So he's dealing with it for peace.
Yeah. Unless you believe, let me know. Do you think a nuclear Iran or Iran with biochemical weapons and intermediate range missiles, do you think that's a more peaceful world?
That's the only question that matters is, do you think that they were a threat? Do you think that they were on their way to get nukes, which seems pretty obvious, and if they had them, would they use them? If the answer is you think yes,
well, people say
stopping that is peace. I mean, it's just a matter of how you do it. If you do it really effectively, then it's really easy to argue for peace. If you don't do it effectively, and you're there for 5-6 months or longer. It's hard to argue effectiveness.
Well, a lot of people out there will say, well, nukes are a deterrent. Well, that's true if they share any of your Western sensibilities whatsoever. You need to understand this particular version of Islam, this Islamic death cult, they don't value the lives of their own people in the same way.
Especially since they're not all Muslim.
Right.
In Iran.
Right.
But the regime doesn't care. They will gladly sacrifice all of their people and take you with them. It's not the same as other nations who want to preserve their people. Iran's dogma is, we're going to bring about the apocalypse. We want to speed it up. It's a very, very different prospect. And yet people out there telling you, no, that's not true. Just read their own words. Look into the 12th Imam. We've done a segment on it. You can go back to a previous episode. Does that shed some new light on it?
Well, we set them back a bit, didn't we?
We did. And we set them back quite a bit.
We brought it up before, but just to reiterate, the earlier we do this, the less possible casualties are involved in it. The longer we wait, the more dangerous it becomes for all involved.
And some people say, well, we've been saying that since the 70s. Sure. At a certain point, right, you ever have this? It's go time. If you have someone who never straightens up and flies right, you'd rather fight them. You'd rather deal with them before they are at their strongest, before they are in their most powerful state.
Especially when they have something to, leverage.
Yes.
Like oil, Strait of Hormuz.
All of it. Yep. That's exactly right. And also, I understand we're going to get to Cuba here in a second. These regimes, this is one thing that's very consistent. You look at Venezuela, the people are happy. You look at Iran, the people want to see the regime out. Same thing with Cuba. They want their regime out.
Yep.
Only communists and some people on the right saying, no, that's a psyop. That's not true. Doesn't mean it's our job to. But at a certain point, you do have to say, hey, maybe a bunch of people have mutually aligned interests that these regimes are bad. These people are starving. You looked at the amount of weight that the average Venezuelan lost, by the way, that's choking off Cuba at the same time. And you are fortunate that you could go to the store and just pick up a steak whenever you want. Though you shouldn't do that. You're still here on YouTube. Remember when we could say whatever we wanted on YouTube and people didn't have to censor out words like gay? See, even that, right? That's not even a swear word. Or the word sex. Even if you're just talking about it, you're not saying anything profane. That's why I live stream on Rumble 5 days a week. Go subscribe over there on Rumble, where you get the live show every single day. If you're still using this archaic form of delivery for information on YouTube, I don't want to judge, but your father hates you.